John can't be here.
Oh, John, okay. Well, there we go. All right. Yes, sir, if you're ready.
Great.
All right. Good afternoon. We're here for our city council budget work session. It's Wednesday, May 8th, 11:32 to be exact. We were supposed to start 11:30, slightly behind, but it's all good. And actually on this one, I'm gonna turn it over to our city administrator.
All right, first of all, I want to make an introduction. We have Dr. Chris Smith from Tri-County Tech. Brian Smith.
Where'd you get Chris from?
Chris.
Oh.
I don't know.
I don't either.
He's looking.
He literally just shook my
Do you
hand.
know a Chris Smith?
Yeah, I said Brian when he walked in the door too, but anyway. He is going to be coach for diversity, equity, and inclusion training for council and possibly even the comp plan work committee. And I wanted him to be able to come here and make sure I'll just make an introduction so you were familiar.
Cool.
Bye.
Yeah, sure. I'll stand. I mean, I don't need a microphone or anything. My voice projects. Good afternoon. Like I said, I'm Dr. Brian Smith. I am a leadership coach, leadership consultant, and diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant as well. My day job, I'm assistant dean for School of Management and Social Sciences at Tri-County. I also sit on Tri-County's IDEA Council, which is Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access. I'm one of the chief diversity officers for NCORE, which is the National Conference on Race and Ethnicity in Higher Education. AEC is very familiar. And I have over 30 years of training, regular training in recruiting, human resources. I'm also a member of SHRM. So that's kind of an overview of me and my career. I served in the Marine Corps, married, have 5 children, and that's me. I look forward to collaborating with you guys and working with you on this project in light of the attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'll say from a 50,000 foot level, I think it's good. I think it's good and great that the city of Clemson is taking on this task. I think an understanding of what diversity, what equity, what inclusion, and what access truly means is important as we set the foundation for the project that we move forward. I look forward to it.
Look forward to it as well.
As well. We look forward to it. Thank you for
Always
being
good
here.
to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Last time I saw you was out at the Tri-County Golf Tournament.
That's correct.
Yes, sir.
Golf tournament got here.
Yes, sir.
It was exceptionally cold.
Did you win is the question.
No, well, actually, yes, we did, but we couldn't win because I was on the winning team, so it's not fair.
Mia and I placed
The mayor
third.
and Mia actually won.
Awesome.
No, we placed third. So we.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Something like that. Well, if that's,
Mia carried the team, so it's all good.
I don't know about that. But I'll bid you farewell for now, and thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to partnering with y'all.
Look forward to it.
And thank you.
Yes, sir.
Have a good rest of the afternoon.
You too.
Thank you.
All right. We've got here some budget highlights for you. I will lead off by saying 16 years of local government, this is a budget unlike any I've ever seen. There's just so much.
Is that good or bad?
Because we've got so much money being spent on infrastructure this year. You're really doing a whole lot of things here. You've got your essential services, you've got your recreation projects. There's a lot going on. It's also expensive. We're looking at total revenues in general fund of $26 million. Here's the breakdown of that. You see the local option sales tax, we think it's going to be $2.8 million. Sometimes it's just kind of interesting to see what we're bringing in. Now, business license is $4 million. Federal and state funding, that there is on grants in the local government fund. Use of restricted fund balance. This is money that you've been setting aside for projects over the years. That's 1.3, and then use of non-restricted fund balance is $1.19,400,000. That's how much we needed without any kind of millage increase to balance the general fund. are not breaking your fund balance ordinance. You have, after it's all said and done, you're still gonna have 13 million in your fund balance, and you're gonna need 12. 12's 50% of next year's operating expenses in general fund. And Leslie, you can correct me if I say something wrong here.
Okay.
Just jump in, I see you.
Well, I just want to be sure that that we understand that that's depending on how this year ends up. That's fund balance as of today is 14. If we come down the 1.3, that is down to 13.
You're above your minimum by $1.1 million. So, I mean, I could easily see 350,000, something by the end of the year. Transfers. This here is money that we use, like when we transfer money from hospitality into general fund for a project. And we'll put the projects over in general fund.
Do you want to talk about the allocations here?
Yes.
Since we're showing something that's new on there.
Yes, we've done something new this year to help with some transparency and to help us further clarify what the actual cost of a service is by taking general fund expenses, because there's departments in the general fund who support the enterprise funds. An example of this is CAT. You know, the university has always said, y'all need to spend more of your own cash there. But when we did this exercise, we are spending over $500,000 supporting the running CAT. And so you want to go through the details of what we did?
So, for as long as anybody can remember, we've had 3 processes of how we've done allocations in the past. Basically, we've split salaries of IT, admin, finance, public buildings, those types of departments. Every payroll across the water fund, sewer fund, sanitation fund, and a little bit in transit, tiny bit. And it happens, we budget it that way and we process the payroll that way. That's one way we've done allocations in the past. The other way, we took citywide IT costs and were split by department, sort of based on the number of people that were in there. And then the third way was we had this thing called quasi-external transfers, which were basically called, they're like in lieu of, so in lieu of property tax or in lieu of franchise fees. So after having some conversations and doing a lot of research, we decided that we would try to make this simpler. Keep things simple. It's kind of been the motto for this budget season and allocations. So now all of the costs will be accounted for in their appropriate department. So for instance, all the finance and admin salaries will be in general fund. And then basically every fund that has employees will get a piece of the cost based on their department total operating expenditures divided by the total citywide operating expenditures. There's also utility billing and splitting it between the appropriate funds. These allocations previously had not been looked at, I think Benji and I determined, at least 30 years. So our goal was to be simple and to make it where we they can be allocated equitably and relevantly every year instead of just doing the same number every year for 30 years. So hopefully that makes sense. So basically what happens is the general fund will get an allocation because the other funds are paying us for those services.
What about like benefits, employee benefits? Is that still out of just the overall general fund?
No, every employee's benefits have always followed the employee, wherever they are.
If you look at the little pie chart there, you can see how business license and franchise fees, how big of a portion that is. So when you see the General Assembly from time to time want to attack that, that's why that's a big deal for us. And we need to be really make sure we're good stewards of how we administer those programs so that.
How much did that increase this year?
I don't
with
know.
our new.
That's what she's looking at.
I'll see if I can.
For some reason, I was thinking we were around 14% in years past, but I may be wrong. Leslie will correct me.
Does
One thing
increase
we
every
did
year.
this year is split out, all of the other business license, like we made general ledger accounts for the telecom, for the things that we don't get from individual business owners here. So it's gonna be hard for me to give, because it was lumped in last year. I apologize.
And we did change some of the rates,
Yeah, we
Right,
changed
that
rates,
was
and
the
we changed
question.
fee.
so we can,
I
I
can
can
do
follow
a,
up.
we can do a deep dive, but.
Just out of curiosity, how do we compare to other municipalities? What are they, isn't that normally about the range?
My point is,
I thought
that I
that's
think
what
of it, when we were talking about the increases and stuff like that, there are many municipalities that's pushing half their budget.
Well, that's what I was
Yeah.
trying to
And we
get
had
to that
upped
point.
ours.
So get to that point, do we know what's normal for most municipalities?
I don't know if there is a normal.
Okay.
Because you've also got, we enforce it,
Yeah.
Right.
and we actually charge it. There's just, people do it different ways all over the place. All right. Here's the general fund expenses. And of course, it zeroes out, but we wanted to show you some highlights here. You got 3.5 million in capital costs, and we'll go through some of that stuff. We got a lot of big equipment and cars that we're buying this year. 12 million, no big surprise. Personnel is going to be your biggest one. 9 million in operating. It's hard to believe that total general fund just 10 years ago was probably $9 million. And we've got 500,000 here reserved for future Abernathy Park upgrades, along with money reserved for other projects. But I'll go into those in a little bit here. This budget here includes 8 full-time employees. These 2 communication positions, that is a public information officer. The cost for that one all in is about $95,000. Then we also have a digital content creator, which is something that we've been doing a lot with here lately. And I think it's, once we've let that genie out of the bottle, I really don't think we can go back, because a lot of people are relying and looking at that. That position is about $76,000. We're looking at 2 new administrative assistant positions, one in IT and one in planning. Lowell, bless his heart, right now is processing every payment and everything on top. He's doing all the administration for the department, along with all of the keeping everything running. He's drowning. So, and we also have an IT. What we've done is, instead of hiring a full-time parking director, Becca is going to take on parking, and then we're going to hire an admin to fill her spot at the front desk at planning. And she'll also help out with permitting and licensing as well.
Will that be enough, given the new parking regulations and anticipated?
We're also going to
24/7?
have 2 more enforcement people who will help, and then the idea is to cut Lindsay loose altogether. But she'll be here for technical support and pats on the back as we transition into it. And the meters are actually being installed this week.
Oh, wow.
Next week, and we'll do a soft launch over the summer, and then it'll go into like full effect in the fall. We want to make sure we have our feet under us really well before we do that. We're making a big push to get heavy into asset management this year. That is making sure we know what all of our infrastructure is and about how much it's going to cost to replace it all, and so we can do some more detailed planning. So we've got another GIS technician to help Tyler out. Right now, our priority is this lead testing that's mandated, because that's got a price tag on the end if we don't do our job. So the asset management part is something we're kind of piecing in when we can. So it's going slow. You'd think we could pull a lot of records, but especially in stormwater, we just don't have them, because we weren't required to keep up with that stuff until recently. So we're actually having to go out into the field and touch it and identify what it is. We have 3 new police officers. We have an officer, a telecommunicator, and a jailer, and a detective. The detective is pending a grant approval. And then that would fund it for this 1 year, and then next year it would become fully funded by us.
Silly question, is that a different rank or is it set apart from the current?
It's a different division. They have 3
Okay.
divisions.
Okay, so
They
it's a
have
division,
patrol, support, and admin.
So this would be sort of a new division, okay.
Andy, when we had that session back in January, February, I can't remember when it was now, I thought we had talked about 5 police positions.
Well, we needed a lot of positions, and we spread it out a little bit. They are not fully staffed. They're 1 position shy right now. So adding this position might help us become fully staffed at our former level, just so we can keep up with that. And then we'll continue adding an officer at least a year. And I'm also buying, you'll see later, 5 cars a year.
Just to remind us, we added 3 last year, police officers.
Right,
I believe so.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're still, I mean,
But our ratio is still below our peer communities.
it is a little bit. We rely a lot on mutual aid.
Right.
So that adding police officers would definitely help with that.
What about the position we talked about for the diversity or?
That's in this year's budget.
Okay, that's,
We can hire them now.
okay.
So we were waiting on the end to get the job descriptions and everything from our class and comp consultant.
Okay.
Something else I wanted to mention to y'all about that big use of fund balance and general fund. We started the year off in a $1.2 million hole because we had enough money in our budget last year to pay for 6 months of salary adjustments from class and comp. And then this year, I needed to add $533,000 on top of that. So there's $500-something thousand this year, plus these new positions are like $700,000. So there's our 1.2 hole, and then you add on that, almost, was it $1.5 million for equipment, to still need just that 1.1. It shows the value of a mill, which is $131,000 this year. So you can keep that in mind if y'all want to make some adjustments. Infrastructure highlights, $3.5 million. We got Chapman Hill Bridge Road. This is another thing that needs to be done and is a $500,000 project. The road was recently rated by DOT. It's not been downgraded. It's maintained its same weight. They have recommended, they showed us some damage that has occurred since the last few years ago they came in. So we hired a consultant to say, okay, what's the best way to remediate this? And they showed us a way that you can repair it in place, maintaining the same strength and integrity of it, and it would cost $500,000. DOT is doing this practice all over the state right now. In the meantime, what we have done is we've gotten with state transport because we found out that we're not able to enforce that. State transport has to do that. So we said, what can we do to help? And they said, well, right now the only signs you have are right at the bridge. So we put 2 on Issaquena in both directions. So you see it before you even get on Chapman Hill at their recommendation. And now they are enforcing, and we've seen them pull people over, and they've contacted all the concrete and construction companies in the area and notified them of the bridge and making sure that they're doing half loads of concrete so that they can meet the requirements.
Do they check that often? Because I'm just thinking of the other favorite bridge that we all have on Issaquena, right where Berkeley is. At the bottom of the hill that they race down? That
Oh,
one?
yes.
I've seen a lot of heavy construction trucks on it.
Yeah, I don't know what that one's rated, but I can tell you that the one on Chapman Hill is actually got a pretty high rating compared to a lot of bridges you'll see, especially around the county, twice
All right.
as strong.
Wow.
From what I've seen in a lot of places. That one's a 40-ton, and a lot of what I see in the county is like 20-ton. And actually, our bridge, it's in the worst condition, is not there. It's on Old Central Road, at the bottom of the hill. Going over that little marshy area. It looks like it's in great shape. It's just not as robust. So, anyway, this is a review of a lot of projects. Paving on Pool Lane, Martin Street, Strawberry, Roslyn, Vineyard, Calhoun, West Pickens, College, North Briggs. And we're doing sidewalk projects in Abel, Raven, Abel Circle as well, Ridge Drive, and we have phase 1 of the downtown streetscape. That's going to be starting.
But these are all anticipated this year?
Yes, it's all fun. Well, it's probably going to take us more than 1 year to complete them, but the money's in this year's budget.
That'll be nice. Sidewalks on regs, that'll be great.
Here's some of the equipment we're buying. We've got a red light battery backup. That's for traffic signal. You'll notice that this signal and the College Avenue signal, they tend to go out in big storms. This is a backup battery pack that will keep those operating when the power goes out. We have another emergency message board. These are very popular. It's like slow down, you're going too fast, or notifying you of, College Ave's going to be closed at 4 o'clock for an event, that sort of thing. We've got a compact tractor for Cody so they can cut the right-of-ways. He's also getting a knuckle boom truck for brush pickup and white goods pickup. That's in addition to the ones we already have. He is also getting, we'll talk about in sanitation later, another beer packing truck.
What's a tracked loader?
Bobcat.
Oh, thank you.
Track. Yeah, track.
That's also like a tracked loader.
Is it misspelled?
And then just 5 police vehicles, 5 interceptors, and
2 pickup trucks.
2 pickup
And
trucks.
a partridge in a pear tree.
One of those is in recreation. They need like a 3/4 ton to pull around the lawnmower equipment that they use.
Tony was looking for one of those spiders?
The Spider did not get funded. It's $111,000.
Okay.
Holy mackerel.
But we've got a new bucket truck. The Spider would be very useful. There were many requests that were made that we didn't include in this year.
Just trying to keep Tony happy.
Yes, but
He's getting a new pickup.
He is getting one of the pickups.
just gonna say Tony's truck on it.
Here in sanitation,
Can you go over the changes in this fund as well?
we've got 2 maintenance worker 2s that we're going to hire out of this fund because it takes 2 people to operate a packer truck. So we're getting a new packer truck to help out with our routes. And we are also proposing a change in the commercial side for the rates. Because what we had for, now downtown, we use a lot of roll carts instead of dumpsters because we just don't have a place to do a dumpster. And the commercial roll cart fee was less than the residential. So what we're proposing is to bring it up to the same level as residential and then add a $3 tipping fee to that because we have tipping fees on the commercial. So it'll be $18 per roll cart there. And then on the dumpster, we're looking at going up $5 per dumpster. And the amount of money this generates, by the way, isn't a hill of beans. I mean, it's like $16,000. And the reason we're doing it is so we're incrementally raising it so that one day you don't end up with this big hickey
Exactly.
that you're laying on somebody. Heather, do you have anything to add on that? Not to put you on the spot, I just want to make sure I just want to make sure I represented her intent correctly.
So, but we do want to mention that we also are moving residential sanitation out of general fund and putting it in the sanitation fund, so that basically anything that's picked up as a roll cart is in this fund, but keeping our brush and other pickups in general fund. Does that make sense? So this way, hopefully we will be able to see, and y'all will be able to see in a few, that the fees don't cover the cost, so.
Yes, general fund does subsidize this
Yes,
service.
general fund will be subsidizing this.
Can I clarify something real quick? You said it's less commercial than residential?
Commercial currently is less for a roll cart than residential.
You're both saying 15 currently.
Well, that's what's,
So the 15 included the tipping fee.
There we go. That's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
that was 12 plus the 3, so now we're 15.
Now we
plus
want it to be 15 plus the tipping fee.
I'm just noticing a comment. Everybody speak up because I have comments of people.
Oh,
not here.
sorry.
Okay.
So just
Appreciate it.
while watching.
Yep.
Good segue, Lowell. We're investing $20,000 in this room in sound dampening technology to try to help with the acoustics so people can hear better. That'll be in your public buildings budget.
The revenue side, can you go back to the revenues, Andy? I'm sorry. Oh, it's not showing. Okay. Part of the 2.2 million, if you see there's a transfer from general fund, that's your subsidy from general fund, 13% to cover
Full cost
what the
of service.
15 and what the charges aren't covering as part of the cost.
I think we calculated it's like $28 or $30 is what the fee would have to be.
Roll cart, the residential fee would need to be right at between $19 and $20 to cover the cost.
Here's how the expenses break down here. $500,000 in operating plus $1 million. You got $1.5 million there in operating and personnel costs. The Packer truck cost $348,200. The knuckle boom is $222,000. It's not listed here.
Do we lease those? We purchased that,
We
right?
buy those.
Okay.
And we're using impact fees for those, those two purchases this year. Those impact fees really help out a lot.
Is the use of fund balance on the revenue side,
To also make up the loss, the shortfall.
make up for the shortfall? How is our fund balance in the sanitation?
We have a report that shows us that.
Yep. Now, currently, this is just commercial sanitation.
How long can we sustain using fund balance?
It's 420,000.
So we could sustain it for one more year at that rate,
Let's see.
a year and a quarter, year and a third. I.e., do we need to think about this now rather than think about it next year when it could potentially be a gotta do it?
300,000.
Heather recommends it. We were trying to sit here and just give you guys options. We gave you like the baseline. You know, we think that you probably should go up from a staff perspective on the residential side because you are behind what other municipalities are charging for the service as well. We didn't touch this thing for a very long time.
But we went up last year, didn't
We
Went up
did
a couple
go
of years
last
ago, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. When we went up, but we talked about doing it incrementally over time to get somewhere between full,
we? What
Cost recovery
does the
and-
full look like? What's that number?
So $20.
$20
Maybe
bucks.
$19.
$20. Between $19 and $20 a cart.
again, we were and still are very low compared to what most people are. Now,
But that's across the board.
yeah,
Keep in mind that we're going to raise rates in utilities that we don't have a choice about. So we're trying to keep
Right, I know.
the overall monthly bill as low as possible. So yeah, financially, yeah. But next year you've got 1.4 million in this year's budget that are non-recurring expenses that will be available for you to allocate to things. So keep that in mind too. Water fund. This year, water fund, the rate study, I believe this year we are scheduled for a 10% increase. See, our total revenue is $11 million. Benji, I believe we're gonna buy, what, almost 900,000 gallons? Is it 900,000 gallons of water? Yeah, 900 million, 'cause it's per thousands, right? Yeah. So, it's gonna be a little short there. It's gonna be a rainy year. You see the 600,000 CDBG grant, that there's part of what we're doing off of over there by Cadera. Running that water line over there. It's gonna help the Goldman area. Back from and Cadera is paying the match on that grant. We're doing 1.6 million in ARPA funds just in water projects alone. And we're probably gonna bring in $200,000 worth of impact fees. Here's what your rates are gonna look like in water. Basically, your monthly increase for an average user is gonna be $3.29 more per month. And this here's the the rate that was recommended in our rate study by Wildan Consultants. And we are now budgeting every year to have that updated every year because we're running really thin and on a razor's edge there. So we're going ahead and reevaluate it. So we're still on plan here in water. See that 54% is spent on capital costs, infrastructure, maintenance, and repair. Benji, do you have any thoughts on water that you think are pertinent? Do you have any thoughts on water that you think are pertinent to share?
I mean, as far as the ARPA project has really helped us this past year. We've got several smaller projects we're doing, but the ARPA is going to give us a big infusion as far as capital costs. The AMI is going to be a benefit to us when we get that one, when we get that project completed. Dustin says we've got about 1,500 meters in the ground right now that we can use AMI. So there's about 8,500 left. So we've got a good ways to go on that. As far as our equipment, we're in pretty good shape. And this will give us to continue running CIP, so we can keep doing that. Every year with the CIP we need to try to follow that if we can.
I think this year the only non-ARPA project is really on Chapman Hill Pump Station.
We got that's basically a pump replacement in there. But as far as the water line, this would be the 93 area, trying to get the old cast line out of the ground. It's been there. So this basically one of the Clemson's original lines. We got flow issues with it, so it really needs to be replaced. So that's what we're really working on right now.
I mean, the point is we're doing more than just ARPA.
When you say Clemson's original lines, how far back are you going with that?
About the university service water.
Benji, do you mind coming to the podium? I know it's hard for people out to hear.
You sit where the attorney sits, a mic will pick you up.
It's not weird.
You
Might
don't
as
want
well
to see what
because
the attorney
we're
said.
getting into all your stuff here. We are issuing a bond right now. The bond is set up for a worst case scenario of the Pendleton plant cost being $18 million, our share of it, plus $3 million for AMI readers, plus $8.5 million for redoing pump stations 5, 7, and the line that serves them both. It's in the rate study at the worst possible level. We do have a USDA grant application in for $8.5 million to cover pump stations 5 and 7. So that would be a huge hit. Plus, Robert and I are continuing to advocate on our behalf for $5 million in state funding for the treatment plant to bring that cost down. And
That's what the ponds
we're going to keep on going. But that $5 million is a big deal. So
Well,
What
they
about,
funded others across the state, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, it's probably not as expensive, but, our replacing of the, lead pipes, is that also?
We have no lead pipes.
We're good?
We have no lead pipes.
Okay,
Which
great.
we told them in the first place, but they wouldn't take our word for it, so we had to go through the exercise.
But we're good?
We're how many left, Dusty?
They'll be completed at the end of this week.
Okay.
We have 50 left as of today.
So we're about
Great work. Thank you.
5 months ahead of schedule.
Well, absolutely, that's great.
wow.
So
All right. In water, we got 6.2 million total in new projects. Here's a list of where they're at. You see that they're all over town. We're not focusing on just one area. There's a lot of things that went into consideration here. It had to do with the amount of infrastructure underground, determining how much we paved on top of the ground, and
basically our complete streets project, we want to be able to pave. And, you know, if we get the utilities all replaced and we come in and pave, and we don't have to come back for 40 years or longer, you know, with at least the utility lines. The paving will have to be done again, but utility lines should be good. Our lines should be in good shape. The other utilities, we don't have any control over.
And our focus in paving right now is to make sure that we can pave over and fully complete every one of these projects that we do. That they've taken the top priority here. We don't want to leave cut up streets.
In the CIP, you can see that part of that down to there was Pine Street and Folger Street area, basically the old section of town.
I just like that picture. It's usually dusty, it's in the water.
That's actually water. That's actually, he's actually in real clean water section. It's not in wastewater. We did get into wastewater, but that's a clean.
There's no good look for wet red clay.
Okay, wastewater, you see the $4 million in ARPA projects there. Once again, we're doing projects all over town. It's very expensive to run wastewater treatment when you have 2 plants that you're running. I think we pay Pendleton $450,000 a year just to operate our share of Pendleton.
It's about right.
That's it.
That's the O&M.
Right.
That's just O&M. And then we've also got the old SRF loan we're still paying for, which is about $49,000 a year.
This is a 7.5% rate increase per the rate study, which we're still on. So you can see that the average customer is going to see a monthly increase in their bill of $4. And this here is primarily to pay for debt service, bonds for major infrastructure work that needs to happen.
But that's 4 plus the 329 on the water side of that.
That's correct.
So now you're looking at 730,
Right.
729.
And then if you went up on the sanitation, it's all on the same bill.
Yeah, sure.
So you could get to $10 real quick.
It will be $10. That's what it will be. Unfortunately, the prices are still going up. No. I'm thinking about certain segments of
Yeah,
our
we're just-
population. That's
yeah.
what I'm thinking about.
Here's where your money goes for wastewater. This is the cost. This year, that's awesome. 80% capital cost, that's wonderful. That means we're getting a lot of work done. Just so you know, the Pendleton plant, that one serves primarily all of our single-family home residents. There's no downtown, there's no multi-unit.
We got a couple. It's older ones.
It's everything east of Highway 93.
Everything east of 93 and the Pelham Road area.
So that's where the Cadera will be treated.
This is essentially Berkeley, Issaquah, that area over there.
Berkeley, Issaquah, everything to on the east of 93, everything on that side.
Right, okay. A lot of people.
Yep.
And that's basically the area we had to grow. I mean,
Right.
If everything goes well, we think our portion of liability in the Pendleton plant will be $15.3 million. Dove Circles, our CIP non-ARPA project.
yeah, that's just a small sewer line that needs to be replaced. It's clay. It was in one of the original lines that actually ran when they had the Morrison School line that ran out there. So it's just an old clay line that keeps giving us problems.
And this year, you're not got a $170,000 camera.
Yes.
That's about your only piece of equipment.
It's a TV camera for the sewer lines. Be our third one, and the other ones are just they're not dependable anymore. And it's just one of those things we need to have. It saves time digging, and you can identify problems. You can locate lines. Dusty's got a fancy new locator that will hook up to it and actually get the GIS coordinates and everything. So
Wow.
That's the Pendleton plant, by the way.
and that's the 100% GMP came in. It's a little shy of $62 million.
Which is $1 million less than we thought.
The grand scheme of things.
I know.
There you go.
Let's just be happy about that.
And we are getting the 10 million skid grant, so that's
Doesn't sound good.
It's $7 million. You know, Harper, the Seymour project we've been through with Harper has been productive. They've helped us identify a lot of things, and working with GMC, it's been a good group.
And this is probably not a really good question. The mid plant, is there any money we got to spend on that thing?
We don't have to spend any money yet. If we decide to go in with them, I mean, that might be something we might
That
have.
plant's operational now, sir.
It is operational. They've actually got a re-rating done, so they've got a little capacity left.
But it serves, what does it serve?
Basically serves Central and the county area.
Okay.
That we don't have anything out there. They actually parallel our line coming down from Heatherwood
Right.
and down to 18 Mile Creek. So we're actually side by side right there
But the Grange is served by
that mid plant.
the mid plant.
Right.
Right, okay.
I have a engineering kickoff meeting this Thursday at the mid plant for our sewer shed study that we're participating in. And that there's going to end up with recommendations for how the county can involve us as a new partner in that plant, because it's a lot more cost effective for us to buy capacity through them and add on to that plant there than it is to add to huge transport and collection systems to get it all the way to Pendleton.
We'd have to upgrade our main line going through, and that's going to be costly.
So we are just now starting the engineering study on that. In stormwater, this is where ARPA's really helping out Ethan. Ethan will be here about 1 o'clock if you have any stormwater questions. Nathan Hinkle can't be with us because he is at an asset management conference, learning about software and methods that we could be using. But he's doing, his primary expense is hiring a stormwater inspector so that he can go out and identify our infrastructure and do these sorts of things and have people going out there, because every year we have to inspect every.
There's like 275 sites that Ethan has to inspect regularly, and plus every new construction site. And that takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot away from Ethan's. He can be doing a lot of other things besides inspecting.
We are going up per the Wildan rate study on the stormwater fee side. That's based on his capital improvement needs, which are very meager compared to what they probably really should be, by the way. So we're looking at an annual increase on residential of $1.80 and 540 on commercial. That's not monthly, that would be annually. So we've got that one new person there. He's got about 700,000 in capital outlays and projects. I believe the list of projects are right here. Like, I believe, is it Elaine's house? No.
No, it's bigger than.
Pool Lane and Roslyn Lane, we've got some drainage work going on there, Vista Circle and Strawberry. We also have an extension for Rich Drive. There's a project that's already taken place, but we ended up with a little more money, so he's going to go ahead and tack on.
And that includes the Ridge Drive culvert.
This doesn't include, I mean, the paving on this, we already talked about.
Yeah, paving's pretty much in with all the ARPA.
That's a,
General fund.
Paving is general
yeah,
fund,
right,
not a
okay,
regular
this is
paving
just,
budget.
this is underground.
This is all the infrastructure.
Other funds, hospitality funds. I've given you a spreadsheet that shows the project budgets for what we're doing with the revenue bond for recreation.
Oh, sorry.
And the bond is actually growing until we spend it. What's the term when you raise revenue?
Arbitrage.
Right. We have a little bit of that going on, so
But
we'll
we're
reallocate as we can.
But we are allowed, for the dollar amount we borrowed, so we won't have to pay the IRS.
So this year, this is how we're breaking down the $2.4 million. We've got downtown improvements, 200 grand, Abernathy Park upgrades, 500, allocating 500 to the Art Center and CAM building. We've got 250 to Green Crescent Trail, see your bond service payment, $571,000, plus citywide events. That's Lindsay Watley's cadre of events. That's your Christmas parade, your Easter, picnic in the park, all of those things. And we have 40,000 for new Christmas decorations for Tucker Boulevard. The wreaths, as I say, we're old, and I told Lindsay they looked janky this year. So last year we spent money having Duke Energy retrofit these poles. So now we can put illuminated decorations up there, and that's what the $40,000 is for.
City bikeways, what's that?
That's Green Crescent Trail.
That's Green Crescent, okay, just what I thought, I want to make sure.
Then you also see that that is going to go on top of what we have in this bond project on this sheet. Or you can attribute it to someplace else. I mean, we're not expecting y'all just to take this carte blanche. We're just presenting you something to work with, and I fully anticipate you guys wanting to make some adjustments and some things. We also have in this fund, we spent the last couple of years doing everything we could to get a lot of general fund expenses out of this so we can allocate it towards projects. Well, this year I took $900,000 and put it in general fund to offset the amount we had to use in reserves. If you guys wanted to increase millage, that's where you could have an offset. It could be in here, but you could also look at EMS. I've proposed to the university, I haven't heard a response yet, but I proposed splitting this cost with us. I said I would like to amend our fire contract to dedicate at least $2 million in additional funding to hire EMTs and paramedics. They need 6, so I'd say this would be for 3. And they're wanting to increase their staff anyway because we're increasing our fire contribution a total of 15%, I believe, over 5 years, so they can up their number of responders that are available. So that's what I've proposed to them right now. that'd be 2 mills allocated to the fire contract that would be going towards EMS. So that we could have dedicated service. And a lot of their students, let's face it, they live in the city. So I felt like it was a justified request.
That would be a really, really good thing with dollars attached to it that are annual instead of just one-offs that from a town-gown relationship that hopefully they'll bite on.
Speaking of the fire contract, it went up from like 1.4 million to 1.5 million as scheduled. And this year, our $675,000 payment for fire apparatus is due. We will have it, so we're good to go by the end of this year. By the way, a fire apparatus costs far more than that, but we're selling 2 trucks to make up that difference. What you're going to notice, an accommodations tax is something new here. Community development initiatives, the law has changed to where we can now attribute some tax to affordable housing initiatives. Our community development fund has not been funded since we did Little John because the state required us to use up all of our fund balance and invest it into that project. So now what we have here is money that we can use for home rehab, home and demolition, if people need a home demoed. We have water and sewer taps for low-income housing so that we can offset some of the costs we tack onto it. That's what we use this money for. You are contributing $143,700 to your next year's budget that you can save and carry over. We're going a little deeper than we used to just because the revenues are climbing. This is an elastic tax, but it's pretty solid in Clemson.
I did a presentation yesterday to leadership Pickens County about tourism in Clemson and that kind of thing, and our accommodations tax and our hospitality tax has outpaced inflation since 2019. I didn't use 2020 and 2021 because there's a bit of a dip, but 2019 to 2023 has outpaced inflation by 121%.
What was it in 2019?
Five something, and no, I'm sorry, that's the total county level. It was three something. I can.
I'd be curious what it was 5 years ago before even COVID.
With ATAX, I know we heard this at the municipal meeting that we can now use some of that for affordable housing funds. Is that in a plan somewhere? Are we having a conversation about that?
I have in the budget an affordable housing plan. And I'm going to go over the departmental highlights here in just a minute. And I'm going to type all that up and I'll email it out so you can have it. But yeah, that's...
I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No. Transit, this is our last slide here. You just saw a whole bunch of contracts that came up at our last meeting. We still have Seneca and we still have University. We are going to meet with the university. I think they want to talk about some pretty big changes. So we're going to go meet with them and hopefully have those contracts in front of you. Well, of course, by June. So, anyway, the cost of service is still $90.36 an hour. It's the same as it was last year. And
Was it Monday?
yeah, same as it was Monday. Exactly.
Hasn't changed.
That number is tattooed on my brain.
I was just curious about the accommodations part.
I will go over some departmental highlights here just so you can kind of see the studies and types of things that we're looking at. In council, we've got a budget for an election this year. That's $25,000. We have a revenue modeling study in here. Revenue modeling is where the consultant comes in and he looks at all of your taxable property and he can tell you and show you on a 3D map where the revenue is being generated.
Okay.
Have an affordable housing study, and then...
Are you talking about that group out of Asheville that does that, or wherever?
Yeah, I can't think of his name right now. It's like Mancusi.
Yeah, he does the 3D work for visually, you can see that.
Oh, that's cool.
In administration, we're showing a public information officer and a digital content creator. In finance, they're going to modify the downstairs conference room into some office space. And we're going to move the mailroom.
That is a question, Andy. I know Bob and I've sort of talked about it a little bit before, is are we maxing out your space here? Are we going to need to think about that?
Yes, we're maxing out the space.
We're moving business license downstairs to that conference room. So, but then you hire 2 new people and there's those 2 offices.
Right. So we are creating more space. You'll see we turned the old mailroom. Ron made it look like it grew there. I mean, it is a beautiful new office. It was the room the auditors used to work in.
Well, I'm just thinking 4 years from now.
Yeah, we'll be out. We'll be out of space. We'll have to do something. In IT, Lowell's got an administrative assistant in here. We have some time clock software as well. And 30 new security cameras. That'll be going up. And those things are extremely valuable. In human resources, we've actually broken out human resources. So Tracy basically has a department now. So we've got $40,000 for staff DEI training and another $10,000 for general training. We also have money that we set aside each year, about 10 grand for an HR attorney to do things like look over policies, someone who specializes in human resources. We also have a contract for something called Lighthouse. It's a way for people to make anonymous comments or concerns, and they email us a summary every month. And background checks, drug screenings, things of that nature. Public buildings, this year, we've got to basically redo the jail. We have to replace all the toilets. They are these stainless steel toilets / sink combos. We need to replace all of the lights and let's see, I've got the toilets and the lights. I believe there's some painting in there. It's all going to be about $68,000. It needs to be done. And the Nettles tennis court lights are going to be converted to LEDs. So those are going to be upgraded.
Those nice purple Duke LED lights. The purple
No,
ones.
we're going to get the non-purple ones. And they will leave those in until you tell them to change them.
Claire loves them.
Okay. They're actually
You can
effective.
change them to whatever color you
Yeah,
want.
you're supposed to report them to Duke, but we refused. They're fun.
Court, I received a note from Nikki yesterday that the backlog is down to 115 cases.
No.
And Judge Daniel, her contract is $24,000 a year. So they are back to status quo, rocking and rolling.
That's great.
Where they need to be. Police, major investment this year. 5 interceptors for $345,000. We're getting 800 megahertz handheld radios for $62,000, and what that does is it allows for interoperability. You need the 800 megahertz so that you can talk to all agencies. They can all switch. That's a big 9/11 thing, and the university has these that'll help us work with them a lot. Then next year we're going to go to do the cars, which is a little more expensive. 1 new officer, 1 telecommunicator, 1 detective, and a new records management system, Central Square, that allows us to share information with other agencies so that if we see the perp, so to speak, pop up, it'll have what other jurisdictions have listed. You don't have to call. I mean, it'll help you make links in real time. The fire contract is up to $1.57 million as planned. We talked about EMS, we talked about the truck. Fire Station 2, we pay for all those expenses. That costs us about $45,000 a year. So that's money that we contribute, to the fire contract. That's not in the contract. In the streets department, we've got a lot of projects here. These are the paving, Chapman Hill Road Bridge, street paving and patching all over town, $1 million, street light repair. Street light power bill, $212,000. There's trivia for you, if you want to know what
Is
it
that
costs.
more or less the same?
It's pretty much the same. Every light's about $30 a month.
Oh.
And we've added a few. Like if a neighborhood comes and asks for a light, we just pretty much put it in. I mean, I think I put 3 in to do some intersections over in Calhoun here recently.
But Andy, Duke, their rates are going up 10%, 11%, so we've included those rate increases in our electricity bills. Our city electricity bills are
They're pretty big.
expensive.
Yeah.
Benji's is super high,
Well, he runs a sewer treatment plant.
Duke CEO needs to make a few more million, I guess.
$400,000. In sanitation, we have
They admit their finances are good.
rear loader truck, 2 maintenance worker 2s. In equipment services, we finally have to replace our air compressor out there that does all the power tools. It has been there since 85. Oh, 85.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
All right.
So many employees.
Yeah, so we did well there. Recreation's getting a 3/4 ton pickup truck. Pam has an event. She is working on a super cool exhibit for next year. It's called Sincerely Daniel. It's $183,000 to curate it, but we think that it is going to be a big attraction, especially on game days when people are having sporting events. They're going to come here and see. You know, we've got some pretty high level people from this area who've made it really high in professional and amateur sports. The Arts Center, they are funded primarily through their program fees. I believe I've got like $430,000 in there for them on top of what their program fees are. Urban and Parkland Management, they're getting a Bobcat, and we are doing some design work for a facility for them. They need office and a place to store their equipment. If you've ever been behind Nettles, they have to be very careful about how they park because they block each other in. I mean, there's just a whole lot of, they need another shed. So that's what we're looking at doing there. And plus, he's getting a pickup truck. And then in planning and codes this year, we've got $25,000 for the regional transportation study and $130,000 to finish out comp plan. We've been over the water and stormwater, but basically water, you've got a total of $5.8 million in infrastructure projects. In stormwater, you've got $670,000 in infrastructure projects. Wastewater collection, you have $3.9 million in infrastructure projects. This is what I meant by this was a unique budget. You know, I was thinking on the way in, it's like the city's gone to the gym, and in 2 years, it's going to be a lot stronger. Wastewater treatment. After all the money we spent, he's also getting a 0-turn mower to cut the grass for $14 grand. It used to be like a Forrest Gump snapper.
There you go.
That's what he had. Buck Hyde used to ride him around.
That was a snapper.
That was a snapper. Well, that there is the overview. So I'm going to type up these here. And you have the presentation, which I will also send you digitally. And I guess now it's time for you guys just to ask questions, make the comments that you have, your suggestions.
So the bond page, this is sitting there right now. We haven't really spent any of this.
We've spent some money on design, especially for Clemson Park and certainly for Nettles Park.
Oh, and by the way, I just realized on this, so the 932 that I spoke about earlier for Nettles Park, that includes the dog park?
Yes.
Okay, I need to correct that.
Parking, dog park, and 8 pickleball.
I've missed the
And
dollar.
that came in 500,000 under that 1.4. So we have that sitting there if we want to make enhancement, overruns, move it to one of these other projects if we
Exactly.
have overruns and stuff like that. Okay.
What I also have this year is the downtown substation project, because it's our understanding that you guys would like to turn this into like an open space. It's like a really cool, funky, nice hangout place. We've got some environmental issues we're trying to clean up because there used to be gas tanks there. So we're working our way through that. But I will send this budget out to you as well, because we have this, these are all funded projects.
Can I ask my favorite question?
Yes.
What's the sales tax rebate looking like? And did it go up this year to give us?
So I will tell you that last year we were not very good at estimating what that credit would be. We overestimated it. So we are much more conservative this year. What we're thinking is that it will go up 2.77%, which is, we based it on collections last year, and so that was not the right way to do. I'm learning. So
We're still okay. I mean, I know like citywide, but your overall tax bill, Fulmer's went up by less than $1 in the last 2 years from 2 years ago. Mine went up like $1.40, and another house, not yours, in our neighborhood that was like valued at $650,000 or $700,000 went up $2.11 over 2 years. 2 years, not just 1 year. That was your total tax bill, only went up by that. So even if we
the first year it went down, Wayne.
Yeah, it went down,
And then the next year it went up to
tiny
net,
bit,
that. So we wanted to be much more
we're
conservative.
doing pretty good on balancing that when we have the opportunity overall. So 2.77%. What would that?
So right now it is 0.001409. That's the new current. That's the rate now.
That's
what we just went through.
Okay.
They won't give us the new rate till too late. They don't give us the new assessed value until it's too late. Everything is after we have to have budget approved before we know what our value of our property is. So that does make it complicated, but so what we were estimating is basically where it's 1409, it'll be 1448. That's 2.77% higher. Does that make sense?
So so conservatively, we could, like a 2 mil increase should be neutral-ish.
Ish.
2 to 2 point something.
If we stay where we are on a $200,000 house, estimating that the total bill will go down $7.82. So you tell me where you want to look at. Because the most at the moment we can go up is 6. We haven't gotten one of our percentages from the state. I'm hoping
The CPI?
the CPI value. We haven't gotten that percentage increase. No, we've gotten the CPI. We haven't gotten the population increase rate. So once we know that, I can give you a better number, but 6 is the most at the moment. So, but I have it ready to.
And several years ago when we started this process, I remember like 95 or 96 mills put us kind of low middle end of the road for peer communities and other communities. And we're at 92 right now.
Or 92.
I don't remember what that
92.
number was, but we're at 92 at the moment.
What was the estimated tax value? That's that we got from the assessor's office. was about 100,
We're up to like 129 or
was it?
something.
No, I think-
I think you said 131.
No, I think it's
That's
like
the value
182.
of a meal, is 131.
130, we're up to 131.
131.
I think we should figure out something in that realm, considering if we're going to go down the road of, hopefully the university bites on some of the, I would like us to go even harder with them on the fire contract and that kind of thing, because, you know, that's like 0.1% of their budget, you know, overall, and say, here you go, you can point to this. This is a significant thing that you could do. But adding EMS so that we have dedicated EMS service locally and not, you know, relying on that, and some of the other things to make sure, you know, we have a place to subsidize some of the fund balance stuff that we're having to use and plan for. If we can keep it relatively neutral or within a few bucks, I think we ought to consider going to 95 or 96 mils to get that. Again, if it's neutral, if it's neutral.
Based on what I mean, the calculations I have, if you go to 95 meals, it would cost an extra $16 on a $200,000 house, which is $1.35 a month.
And that's without the sales tax rebate, right?
That's with
it?
That's with
Okay, so you're talking less than $1 a month.
Right.
That's your tax pay. I mean, that wouldn't affect your escrow account or anything. I mean, it would be imperceptible.
No, but I would say 95 is it. I mean, we're hitting people already with 12 to 15 or dollars a month increase. I mean, I think the least we could do for some good PR and some good communications is talk about maintaining everything else where it is now.
Yeah, because a lot of these houses that we're thinking that impacted, they're probably actually paid for, so that's actually a bill that comes, you know, annual bill. And then also, you know, I think it's like $10 already in the various other fees, and now we're talking 16, so that's 26. And I mean, I know that's, to some that's not a big number, but to some it is a pretty significant number.
And it's just then everything just builds. I mean, then it multiplies on top of that the next time.
Right.
That's the Duke Power increase. I mean, Duke Power is that's the base rate that they're talking about. That's going to hit everybody.
11%.
Wow.
Okay, so.
Yeah. You look at some of those air conditioning bills and some of those other things, those
bills are big.
And sometimes it's not air conditioning, because some people just, everything they do is electric.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
They live off the electric.
That's why last year, I don't like the Duke increase.
I think one of the things we might ought to inquire with Karen Carter on is that how many, she gets inquiries, we don't through the Shaw Center, but she gets inquiries on the utility bills.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be interesting to see whether those numbers are flat, up, down, whatever they might be right now.
I know my friends at AIM last year at Anderson, I mean, theirs went up. They were maxing out their bill payment every month, helping people.
Right. So I want to go back to this one on the Clemson part, because that's a big deal to me. So where are we with this project, Bob? Aren't you working with them on that?
I think they're design development, working on construction documents.
They've been focused on the skate park.
The skate
piece
park.
of it here lately.
Yeah, skate park design should be done relatively soon, I think in June. And then Paul, I'm assuming, is working in the background on the rest of the design for.
A lot of site work.
Yeah, there's a ton of site work stuff going on with
Right.
getting the drainage and everything else right.
But again, so the skate park portion is being designed, but then the rest of that's kind of sort of, it's still in process, I assume.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Is that something that'll happen in this coming fiscal year?
The skate park, to get on that group's list for the build, it was probably going to be more like I mean, we've got it funded now.
It's funded.
But it's funded, and it's funded as part of the bond, so, but it's probably going to be next summer when that opens up, because that group, you know, they're getting crushed all over the world with building those things right now.
And the site work goes beyond the park. It goes way up the road.
Right.
That's where a lot of the water comes from.
Yeah.
They have to address that.
This would be a nice.
But we should be getting to the point where we're making decisions about like what improved, expanded shelter, catering kitchen looks like, a splash pad. And, you know, I'm trying to think what else the other things are there. Some redoing of the sidewalk that goes down the left side, I believe, is in there. But a lot of this stuff in that park is going to be not overly exciting because it's going to be in Ethan's world of getting water off the
And improving the
off the
site
site
itself,
and
yeah.
improving it so it doesn't.
But there is discussion that I don't know how much you can keep that actual existing building from what I've gathered.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to have to do it. I think
Is
we're
that
working with the
still
church again.
correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
working with the church that's still on a septic tank, to come across the church property to tie in to the sewer line.
Ally's been working with Blue Ridge on fiber. They really want to have a piece of infrastructure installed there, and we're saying, okay, free internet for the city. We're just negotiating what's going on.
That would be,
But by the way, that's what they're offering everybody that they're trying to go on their
they're
property.
wanting to go there to put the hub in.
Yeah,
So
they
that
talked to
would
the
be,
church.
that would be a new distribution, because what they explained to
850.
Ally and myself is that most of what they have right now, they're to max.
Yeah.
And so Ally and planning and whoever else is gonna probably come to you all and,
They only need 50 feet by 50 feet or something.
yeah, and the pad's only like 8 foot by 8 foot. And one of my, what they're trying to do is get it in an area where you don't have tree overhangs, and I've explained our tree ordinance, and that's, you know, a touchy subject sometimes depending on which trees, but I suggested come up with a plan to have a nice entry sign or something that you could develop that would hide that little, you know, whatever box it is, but that could be something you all could negotiate with that.
I've seen where people have used those kind of agreements to build the bathroom, and it be part of, like, almost beside the bathroom, like attached to the bathroom. Huh?
Whatever works.
Hey, this was for a cell site, but like they built their park a cell
They
site.
sound really, really motivated to do what they need to do to be able to put another fiber option within the city there.
Okay.
So,
Well, there's some space there. The Methodist Church might even give up some.
Well, we've already talked to them a little bit. We're
Okay.
trying to figure it out.
Good.
I hate to go back to the millage and anything else, but I do need direction because I have to advertise, and I would rather advertise high and y'all decide to come down so we don't have to advertise twice. Then I would rather advertise once at 92 mills, and then y'all come back and say you want 95, and then we have to advertise again. So
Without having that final decision right here, could you put that it could go up to a max of 6? That's all you're saying? Could
I
you-
have to literally put the
What it is.
advertisement and say
You have
it
to
has
put
a
what it is.
specific verbiage that I'm required to advertise.
You can't put up to, or you can't use those words. Okay, that's all.
You have to put the dollar amount. You have to show people what it could, what that means to them.
Certainly would not favor anything over 95 if that's going to keep people.
Was it 95 with the $16 you're talking about?
95 was $16.
$16 increase, assuming it, but you're being
That's
pretty
on
conservative with the,
That's on a 200,000.
Well, because I don't know what the credit will
Right, but still being conservative, I'm good with that. All right, speak of it over.
So that would be 3, right? 3 million.
so that would roughly 400, a little less than $400,000, which would set us up to not have to, you know, next year, if we're diving further into fund balance in whatever that, what was the first, in
Commercial,
In-
residential, you're talking about
Yeah, in sanitation and that kind of thing. You know, I don't want us to find ourselves next year where we're going to have to say, hey, we got to go the full 6 next year. You know, that's what I've been preaching the whole time. Incremental is always better. And it's, you know, again, I know it's like, you know, it is this, but that's always the case. And we found ourselves here because people refused to do it for 30 years prior to this council as far as doing some incremental raises over the time.
Out there, Bob.
What's that? I was just looking at 30 years. When I say 30 years and think about old things, when I think about old things, I think about Benjamin. I looked at the oldest thing that I could find.
Okay, on a different note, I think if we do that, and I'm all for that, but I do think we need to put out something in the paper either as eventually about what the plan is, because we recognize that these are the bills that are going to go up. This is why they're going up.
This is where the money's going
And
to go.
this is the plan. I think we owe that to people.
I think we should use our digital content creator.
Yes.
Well, I think you said it right at the beginning, Leslie. You kept things simple, just more transparent, and that's the motto. And you can really use that theme.
Let's give Ally props. She put these slides together for us.
Yeah.
She is at a conference today. She also is in the middle, she does this every year. She scours property taxes and looks for sales and tries to make sure that we're getting the revenues right. And she always consults with the assessor as well.
We noticed a picture that was literally a week and a half ago that was on this. Pretty impressive.
And that you said it was a $2 million dedication to EMS.
That's what I
So if you go
proposed.
up 3, it's two. We can look at it that way as well. That this is helping us get local EMS service.
Correct.
In conjunction, and that's exactly what it's doing. And again, I just I'm a big believer in limiting the amount of fund balance you're having to use each year, because
And this year,
you don't want to hide things.
this year's not sustainable,
Yeah.
but you've got some one-time things in there that if they went away, it wouldn't be nearly as bad.
Right.
Yeah. The things that come up 10 years, it's like a 10-year storm kind of a thing.
And we're going to be pretty close to our fund balance ordinance, and one emergency puts you in a not so great position when we're going out to the bond market for a bunch of money.
We'll look good for the bond market.
What's that?
We want to look good for the bond market.
Yeah.
And following our general fund balance ordinance is key to that. I just wanted to point out, if the lost credit were to just stay the same, going to 95 is, instead of the $16 increase, is 24.
It's 24, yeah. It's $2 a month.
Yeah,
And
but
we're at 789 with the things that we control right now. 789 with the rates that we control on water. And so that would go to the things that we control would be slightly under $10 a month for a $200,000 home and average rates.
But that's 120 a year plus the Duke Energy rates. And I'm just saying that I'm going to err very much on conservative this year. And honestly, we have things in our budget that if we needed to, we're very fortunate to be in the position we're in. We're exceptionally fortunate.
And when you see the list of budget highlights I send out, you can reallocate it, you can cut it, put it off. There's a lot of ways you can skin the cat.
So I'm going to remain conservative on that and say 94 to 95.
Is there any way we can go get a report, I guess, from the county, about people that are struggling with their property taxes?
I know in our existing conditions report from the comprehensive plan, they had an interesting stat. One that stood out to me was like 64% of Clemson residents pay more than 30% of their income towards housing.
I'm not surprised at that.
No.
But I think you pinpointed that possibly like Clemson Community Care, just seeing what those specific needs have been over the last
I understand
year.
what you
I'll
were
check with
asking.
Karen. Like I say again, and I understand what you're saying. To us, $2 a month is not a big deal, but I know some folks that, where again, I think most of these older homes are paid for, and so now you get a bill for whatever that amount is, and then that's, you know, and you throw in the others. I
For
guess.
people who are living on a fixed income too.
Right.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
budgeting every penny.
And I understand your question. I think that would be interesting if somebody at the county would, I mean, we're not asking even for individual names, but just even if you could tell us what the percent
It'd
is.
be nice to know the ranges, like, you know, are the houses are 200, 100, whatever they are. You know, what's that delinquency number look like for the $100,000 house or the $200,000? And you can kind of pinpoint where the issue might reside.
And I don't
Just
know
so we can ask, can you state that question?
what percentage,
Just look at it from this, okay, if they could possibly do it, houses valued at $100,000, what percentage of those property taxes would be delinquent? And then do it again, maybe at 200,000. 250.
Or some number, keep it on the low end, because that's the
50
target.
to 100,
So you're
100 to
Andy, I'm just gonna
150.
add, you have to narrow it down specifically to them. Obviously, I know this sounds like a no-brainer statement, but to the city of Clemson, because they're gonna give it to you for the
Right,
county.
yeah.
They're gonna
Yeah.
give it to you county.
Right.
If they narrow it down, that would be the,
Right.
and
I'd be interested to know how many primary homes do we have in Clemson that are valued at, that is the primary owner occupant, that are valued at 250,000 or less?
I'd like to have it broken out.
Like go, maybe if do the same thing, 250 down to 1 and under 1.
Yeah, right, something like that. Let's get down in that 150.
So we can figure out how many households we're
Talking about.
We're
did they
talking about.
automatically give you the homestead exemption when you get to a certain age?
But you have to apply for it.
You have to apply
So
for
the
it.
4.
Well, that's what I'm asking. I don't know. I
Just
don't
the
know.
4%.
The 4%.
The 4%ers, Andy.
4%.
Yeah, okay.
Good question.
That was my next question, or if people, because I don't know, I'm not old enough to apply for the homestead exemption, if we have people in our lower income neighborhoods who don't have that homestead exemption but should. If we're doing all those other workshops with wills and heirs and inheritance and everything else, maybe that kind of thing,
Right.
maximizing
Good
your
question, right.
home.
I don't know if they.
You could ask that question too, how many households do we have that have the homestead exemption?
In that
That are
same range.
4%?
In that
4%.
same range.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Yeah,
same
in that
range.
same range on that.
Yeah.
And how soon do we need to let you know?
yeah, I know, when do you need to advertise this?
Yes, you
I don't think that affects what she's trying to do. I just think.
can. I think it's
It
good.
does, it does if we have to decide what.
We could advertise at 95 and then we could decide to
Right.
have it be less than that. We
That's
could
why
keep it
I
the
say,
same.
you can advertise more and do less. You cannot advertise less and do
So
more.
if I'm hearing everybody, we're with 95?
Right.
Is that head nods? Okay, 95, Leslie, there's your
Okay.
direction, thank you.
And we can do less if we need to, but 95 for sure.
And I will advertise the rates as presented, other than, I know, one of the, up there, we didn't show sanitation increase. It's on here, but I won't do the sanitation increase.
But when you advertise even that millage, you can put like EMS discussions, you can put a footnote in it, can you not?
I mean, I can do whatever.
I
mean,
would
but-
advise, I
You
mean,
can put, whenever you put a millage increase, it's always good to link it to an additional
that's what I was
service or
saying, so
project.
I'm just making sure it's got full transparency.
I'll get with,
of
I'll
where's
get with
the note.
Andy on how he wants to do that.
Thank you.
Is
Grab my food.
advertising doing less than that? Or something else I want to ask you about when you...
Guys, I'm listening right up to this. Get ready to go.
Some of these
Homestead, you put
other-
down the homestead exemptions, 250 or less, and
I
4%.
did it, I'm doing it by price point, like, delinquency percent by price point, 50 to 100, 100 to 150.
They automatically
Then I'll
credit in
do
your
how many are homestead in each of subset.
I mean, yeah, obviously I get it, but you got.
And then number of 4% properties in town that are $250,000 or less.
Wherever you pay taxes.
Oh, is next year reappraisal year?
It was supposed to be this year, but they pushed it off. So technically, yes, next year.
Technically, yes, next year.
So the other thing we may want to talk about, just to be sure, are some of the other rate increases that we had on this list. Mainly, they're only like fees that are charged for new service or non-payment.
Connects, disconnects, new
Like if
meters, stuff like
disconnects for
that.
non-payment, those things. Heather has recommended some of these changes, and if I need to advertise them, I need to advertise these as well. Granted, there is the sanitation in here, but based on what I've heard, y'all still want to stay at the $15? Okay.
There's one in here though that I think is interesting. I gotta ask, where's the one you and I were talking about, where they bypass the,
Is the unauthorized water use charge.
so guys, that's where somebody bypasses the meter. I mean, they literally go around the meter and cut it. And I mean, it's $100 charge. I mean, to me, why aren't they just why not have missed a meter?
It's $1,000 mistake, $1,000 mistake, or 30 days in jail.
Well, I mean, we have $100.
Just to be, Heather and Benji, if y'all mind coming up, because I know we've been given that advice. Thank you.
I mean, I think,
It's if you can get the police involved and they do a report and the person actually says, yes, I did it, no, I didn't. And then I've only actually taken one person to court, and he was removing his meter before the meter readers came. And this is before we had the unauthorized usage charge. So this is a way for me to actually charge without having to,
but I still think, I mean, so you say it's a way to charge without having to literally prove it?
exactly. So, I mean, we have no way to prove who actually did it, but ultimately the homeowner is responsible for the unauthorized. And this really applies to developments that
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, probably the people that do it the most are the developers.
It would be me, like, if you shut off my water, like I didn't pay my bill, and I went back out and turned it on.
Yeah.
Yes.
I went back out and turned it on
You would be
myself.
charged $100 or,
That's one thing. I get that one. But the one I'm thinking about is where somebody literally goes out and intentionally bypasses a meter.
yes.
And
I'm 100% on board with whatever.
I mean, maybe there needs to be.
I'm an incremental girl too, so,
As long as you got the right.
I mean, maybe there needs to be, because turning the meter back on is fairly easy. You can buy a little deflection to do that. But when you literally go around it, I mean.
right now I charge them, if they damage the property, we'll charge them for the property, or what they damaged, like the lock or anything like that. We'll charge them for that, but we have never had an unauthorized usage charge, just to charge somebody for the usage. And that's outside of what, if I can, I get the police involved and take them to court. That's outside of all of that. I can still take them to court and they still have to pay the fines that the judge.
Well, I mean, I think $100 is, I mean, I get.
Yes, and we have to have proof pictures.
Right, but I mean, that number is way down, way low in my opinion.
I agree with you.
Do we know what other municipalities are doing on that?
They're,
I mean, Gidgee said $1,000.
That's state.
that's like
Minimum
state,
state,
if you
yeah.
take them to court, that's what the judge can,
Okay.
charge them. That's
Max
not,
penalty.
yeah, yeah.
Well, the last incident we had, I mean, we were told basically we had to have a picture of the
Of
person
them
in
doing
the act,
it,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, so it just
To be able
happens
to
to happen?
convict them.
It just happened, and they're not gonna be mentioned, but, when we said $50, he was just like, whatever.
I've got that on me. Here you go.
Yeah, they didn't
But I mean, I
mind
guess
paying
the
the money.
question.
Can I give you 100 so you-
In the past 12 months, have you had a situation where somebody, I'm not talking about just turning it back on, I'm talking about has literally bypassed it. Have y'all had that happen this year?
Yes,
Yes.
Really?
yes,
Multiple times,
multiple.
Multiple times?
same place.
How does that work? Like,
They
how do
straight pipe the meter box,
They just-
basically, yes.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so it's before meters are installed, and they'll come through and shove a piece of pipe in the meter boxes with some tape on it.
Wow.
And turn it on, and water spraying, of course, everywhere because it's not sealed, but also getting water to the home as they need as well. It's, a lot of it's developers.
That's what I was gonna say.
Starting when they shouldn't.
And, you know, or builders or whoever the
Yeah.
case may be.
Yeah.
But y'all still gotta catch them.
Yes. And I had pictures, you know, of work orders, everything, showed all that in a meeting, and we were basically told without catching them in the act with a video evidence that it was gonna be hard to try to.
Okay, not try, but could you not just find them?
That's our way of finding them, is charging them for unauthorized usage. There's nobody to charge is what we were told if we can't prove it.
We have, yeah, that's the issue. We couldn't just charge the developer who was over it. It has to be an individual person.
The person who's actually doing
Correct.
it.
So the homeowner, in other words, if they're actually doing it.
Okay.
Or whoever's paying the bill.
But you can charge the developer the unauthorized fee.
It has to be an individual. We couldn't charge like a corporation or developer. It's either gotta be who's counting the names in that we could charge.
Well, that's what I mean, an
Or if we
account.
catch someone in the act, yes.
But if that's what I'm saying, the account holder you can charge.
So if I'm out there building homes initially and the water goes in, is it going in as a builder, is it going in as my name initially and then transferring over to the homeowner, right?
It is.
Well, I mean, if that's the builder that's doing it, I mean, what else do you need?
Well, we did charge them the $50 that it is, but we,
It's cheap.
They don't, you know, they don't mind.
Well,
They
yeah, to
pay,
them,
they
yeah.
keep doing it. That's the issue.
Right.
I've got 10 houses going in, here's $500.
Right,
So I'm just gonna just go ahead and do it.
Basically.
The other thing we hear is, but if y'all would put in the meter, we would use it, but what they don't tell you is they won't protect the meter site. So we'll put this expensive meter in the ground, but then they'll drive all over it and break it.
We actually quit installing the meters because of that issue. They would tear them all to pieces or destroy the meter box and the meter itself, or then the MXU was somewhere else we can't find anymore, completely gone, and then that's an issue with our AMI system as well.
Is it too complicated to increase the fee if indeed it's like more than one occasion? Because some you might legitimately just do 100 and stop, but if they are habitual, is there a habitual one?
you can do like
You have
a
a
year
different-
type thing, like your first offense is this. I mean, that's basically what the state does. It's like your first and then your second time.
But when you know it's egregious, then you can charge them an absorbent amount. Because
I'm on board with whatever.
I'm not trying to make it, I'm not trying to make it difficult. Why don't you guys decide what you want and just go for it? I mean, because this is breaking, in my opinion, you're a thief.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So, I
And
mean,
I mean, I don't know, you guys have got to figure out how to catch them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But come back with a number you think, I mean, the $100 I get for that situation.
500.
Or 500, 1,000, whatever the case may be, let's go for, I mean.
up to $500.
1,000, I
I
don't
think you might want to make it to what the state is, make it up. Legal
I think whatever's legal,
Day in jail.
1,000.
30 days in jail.
We can't put them in jail, but yeah.
You gotta go clean out the tanks.
If it happens frequently, you know, what you're telling me it happens fairly commonly, then we need to be charging it.
Agreed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So some of the other charges on here, like the disconnect, what we want to call it a non-payment fee, but the disconnect fee for non-payment, basically, she wants to go up $5. The new account or account initiation fee, which is now administrative fee, she wants to change the name and go up $5. And the transfer and the rollover. I just want to be sure, because I'm going to post these, and I need to make sure everybody's on board with some of these charges. And the cost of sending somebody out to turn on a meter and turn off a meter, we're not covering, so that's why having these charges go up to try to capture that cost is what we're trying to do.
How many disconnect fees do you get? And the disconnect fees, are those like you haven't paid your bill, we're coming out to turn your water off?
We can have up to 15 a cycle, so.
What's that?
We can have up to 15 people a cycle, and we have 4 cycles. So that's how many times we have to roll a truck there and back.
Okay. So it's a lot.
It's less than it used to be because we do have ways of contacting and letting them know. But I wanted to do it incrementally because if you can't pay the bill for 2 months, you certainly can't pay an outrageous disconnect fee. And that's my, reasoning behind that.
That's what I was thinking about. How much of that is like students being irresponsible students, and how much of it is, are people in town that are struggling?
And it's usually, it's unfortunately, it's usually the same people, and we do have 2 months. We give them 2 months actually before we will disconnect and contact them multiple times by email, by phone. So when we apply the fee, it's warranted, so.
You need to get your irrigation meter put in soon.
I've gotten
Okay.
I got it 2 years before it really went out.
For Wesley say, does anybody see anything that causes concern?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you.
So keep moving forward. Thank y'all all for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the work. We appreciate it. I know not everybody's here, but we appreciate all the teams bringing this together. Very helpful. Andy, did you have anything else? Leslie?
I'm publicly asking Benji to forgive me for calling him old.
Part of that money that we transfer from ATAX over to community development is intended to offset those hookup fees and everything they're talking about for people.
Hopefully when you got a picture, it wasn't when it was like all over me. Because Sully's is messy. I saw you with the camera.
Such a messy lunch.
Oh, okay, good. 'Cause I'm on
Such a
video. I'm
messy
on
lunch to
video.
have to eat in front of
I'm on
people.
video doing that.
I know,
But it's okay.
he's right here. I was trying to wipe it
I
up.
saw you with the camera. I was like, yeah, it probably took a while. I was like, Sully's
Front page.
Sully's is great. Yes. But it's a little messy. When I say messy, it's worth it.
That'll be the headline photo.
Exactly. All
Oh,
right, well, if Leslie or Andy, I'll let them kind of, you want to close out, anything else? Come good? Everything you need?
No questions from taxpayers?
We're good. Thank y'all for everything. Thank you for the update on the lead pipes, or the lead aspect. Yes.
Lack of lead.
The lack of lead. Yes, that's how I should say it. Well, we're adjourned. Thank you.
I got to get back.
County council meetings.